The airport cafe buzzed with early morning exhaustion, rushed steps, groggy glances, coffee orders yelled over the clatter of cups. But amidst the chaos sat a man whose world was quieter than it should have been, whose gaze was somewhere far beyond the plains. His name was Mark Turner, and he was running out of hope. Mark wore tired eyes and a wrinkled flannel that had seen too many job interviews and not enough paychecks. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, sat beside him, coloring the same page in her sketchbook over and over. She was all he had. Since her mother died 2 years ago, Mark had been everything: mom, dad, bedtime storyteller, and now, desperate job hunter. He was headed to a final interview in another state, scraping together the last of their savings for the flight and praying this could be the break he needed. As Lily tugged his sleeve, asking if they could buy a muffin, Mark opened his wallet and winced. 2 crumpled dollar bills and a handful of change. "Maybe after the plane ride, sweetie," he whispered, brushing her curly hair behind her ear. Her little nod broke him a bit more. Just then, chaos erupted a few feet away. A woman in a sleek business suit had spilled her iced coffee all over the floor. It splashed across the tiles and onto the hem of her trousers, soaking her briefcase. People nearby recoiled, stepping away. She looked down, frozen, visibly shaken. Without a second thought, Mark stood up, grabbed a pile of napkins from the counter, and knelt down, wiping up the puddle while the woman fumbled with her bag. "You okay?" he asked gently, his voice low and sincere. She barely registered him at first, stunned by the sudden mess and the stranger mopping it up like it was his responsibility. I'm fine," she stammered. "Thank you." "You don't have to." "It's all right," Mark said with a tired smile. "It happens." Lily peeked from her seat and offered the woman a crayon drawing she had just finished. A rainbow with the words, "Have a better day," scrawled in a child's shaky handwriting. The woman blinked, visibly caught off guard. She took the drawing carefully, her polished fingers trembling slightly. Mark nodded and returned to his seat, wiping his hands on his jeans. The woman sat across from them moments later, still shaken, but now watching the pair closely. She overheard snippets of their conversation. Lily asking if the clouds looked like cotton candy. Mark promising she'd have a better lunch tomorrow. Words soaked in quiet struggle. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The woman stood abruptly, walked to the counter, and returned with a muffin and a bottle of water. "Hi again," she said, bending down to Lily's level. "You said you wanted a muffin, right?" Lily looked at Mark, eyes wide. He hesitated, but the woman held up a hand. "My treat." "She made my morning better," she said, holding up the crayon drawing. "It's only fair." Mark stood, unsure. "That's kind of you." "You really don't have to." "No," she replied, soft. "Now." "But I want to." As Lily eagerly tore into the muffin, the woman sat down beside them. "I'm sorry," she said. "This is strange, I know. But, you helped me without knowing anything about me. The least I can do is say thank you properly." Mark chuckled lightly. "It's just coffee." "I didn't think twice." "I did," she said. "You see. I'm not just any traveler. I work in corporate hiring, head of talent for Hamilton and Gray. We're actually recruiting in Seattle right now." Mark's eyes widened slightly. He knew that name. One of the biggest consulting firms in the region. "Really?" he asked, trying not to sound desperate. She nodded. "What do you do?" "I was in marketing," he said slowly. "Mid-level strategy before the layoffs. I've been out of work for almost a year. Been applying everywhere, even for warehouse gigs. I just want something steady for her." He glanced at Lily, whose cheeks were now dusted with muffin crumbs. The woman paused, assessing him. Not like a stranger anymore, but like a recruiter might. "Mark Turner," she said thoughtfully, pulling a tablet from her bag. "Would you mind sending me your resume? I think we might have something for you. Something that fits." His breath caught. "Are you serious?" "I don't offer things I don't mean," she smiled. "And anyone who teaches kindness by example, especially to their kid, is someone I want on my team." Tears welled in Mark's eyes before he could stop them. He cleared his throat. "Thank you." Thank you." They exchanged emails. The woman's name was Claire Bennett. By the time they boarded their respective flights, Mark had a phone interview scheduled for the next day. Within a week, he had a second interview. Then a third. And 2 weeks later, Mark got the call. He was hired as a brand strategy consultant, full-time, benefits included. They even helped with relocation. On their first night in their new Seattle apartment, Mark framed Lily's rainbow drawing and hung it above their tiny kitchen table. He looked at his daughter, who had grown used to instability but never lost her spark, and said, "Remember when you gave that woman your picture? That's the day everything started to change." Lily beamed. "Because of the muffin." He chuckled. "Because of kindness." Moral of the story, life has a quiet way of watching. Small acts of decency, done when no one's looking, without expecting anything in return, can echo in ways we'll never predict. Mark didn't clean up that spilled drink for recognition. He did it because it was the right thing to do. But in a world that often feels cold and transactional, kindness stands out. Sometimes, it even opens doors you didn't know existed. And for anyone out there struggling, remember, even when it feels like the world isn't watching, kindness counts. Always.